Good afternoon, everybody. There wasn't any real prepared program for this afternoon's press conference on this middle school project. Quite frankly, we're just all extremely excited, and we're going to do the best we can to report on this exciting news and also take questions. But just so you know who everybody is, we have Rory Casey to my left here, who's our city treasurer. Have Anthony Soto, who's our school superintendent. Aaron Brunel, our at-large school committee rep, and also the co-chair of our school building committee. And Aaron Linville, who's, what's your title now?
Chief of Strategy.
Chief of Strategist, and an incredible asset to our school building committee team. Helped us really navigate this process to get to where we are today. And today, I'm extremely happy and very humbled, actually, to announce that we're going to be building a middle school. This has been a long process, probably about a decade or so, since our community has started this conversation about how do we best adequately meet the kids of our full school student body population. And really quickly we knew, and I'm sure Superintendent can talk more about this, that our middle school age children, that we weren't necessarily meeting the needs as best and as adequate as we could. And so the campaign started to build 2 new middle schools. We all remember that voter override authorization failed at the ballot to build 2 new middle schools, but never at one moment did I take that as defeat. I took that instead as an opportunity to reconcile, continue to work with our community to understand how to best go forward with the shared desire, which every member in every corner of the city did believe we did need in middle school, just didn't necessarily agree at that time in the best strategy. And so here we are today, many years later, with a strategy in front of us, supported unanimously by our city council. Big shout out to every member of that council that supported this project and has been actively involved in this process since day one many years ago. And also not only supported by our city council, but then we got the support of the MSBA just the other day to go forward with the project. And so, you know, this is very personal for me. This particular project, I remember when I first started in local politics, I was the Ward 1 school committee rep, and I remember having this conversation on the school board level, especially at that time when I became a first-time dad to twins who are now 11 years old. And it's just extremely exciting to see where we are today, and we can finally go forward and get these kids the schools that they deserve. And so with that said, I'm going to pass it to Superintendent Soto, who will talk more about the incredible work he's doing and what the district is, how we're going to use this opportunity to better elevate his objectives for the district. We'll hear from Rory Casey, who's going to share a little bit about how we're going to finance it. Thank you, Rory. Aaron Brunel, who's not only a representative on the school board and an active member in the school building committee, but professionally, she's a realtor, and she's added a lot of value and you know, what folks are looking for. They don't buy homes, they buy schools. And so having good quality schools helps sells homes. So she can share a little bit on that. And then Aaron, whatever we missed, certainly you can just fill in the gap because obviously your finger is really close on the pulse and making sure that there's no gaps in this process. So with that said, Superintendent Soto.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I just want to show incredible gratitude to the school committee who has supported this project all along over the years, and the MSBA, who has also supported Holyoke. With the MSBA support, we've been able to invest well over $20 million into our schools over the last 7 years. So big shout out to them. And last but not least, you know, this wouldn't be possible without our city council unanimously voting on that. And it really just sends a message loud and clear to all of our families and to all of our students that the elected officials in this community and the leaders in this community really do care about you, and not just with words and not just with campaigns, but through funding a huge, it's a big investment for the city of Holyoke. And as a student that went through Holyoke Public Schools, I actually went to Peck Middle School. You know, this is very personal to me and near and dear to my heart. And I'm just incredibly grateful that we can make this possible for the future of Holyoke and its students and families. We did recently go through a rezoning process, and it was a very collaborative and engaging process where we engaged well over 1,500 members of the community and staff and families to provide input on rezoning and what was important to them. And this middle school is really icing on the cake for that rezoning process. I know rezoning is really hard. We've had to make some really difficult choices, but the end goal in mind was to make sure that we're providing better experiences for our students, better experiences for our staff, and giving students the opportunities that they need to be successful when they leave Holyoke Public Schools. And a little down the road, we always envisioned being able to do that with a new middle school in Holyoke Public Schools. And today we stand here just incredibly grateful for that vision to be a reality.
Thank you, Anthony. Mr. Treasurer?
Sure. So, like everybody up here, I'm more than thrilled with the outcome that started over a decade ago with the original statement of interest for a new school project and culminated yesterday with the MSBA approving unanimously the facilities grant. And that's a key component here. The state is going to be contributing over $45 million to this project to allow for us to build this new school. And again, just like everyone else up here, was very involved in the campaign for the two schools back in 2019, and we weren't successful at that time, but the key takeaway was listening to the concerns of the community. We heard loud and clear that the community wanted a new school, but they wanted to make sure that we could afford it. And through the hard work of so many dedicated city and school department employees, we've been able to get to that point. And so the key takeaways there are that where we're at right now as a community with the debt that we'll be taking on in a few years for this, we can afford it. We do not need to go back to the voters for a debt exclusion vote or a tax override. We'll be able to afford this within our budget by using both general fund money and strategic investments that we've made over the last 10 months that are going to be paying us dividends to go directly to offset the payments for this school. So to think that just 5 years ago, 6 years ago, the state came in and said at that time the city did not have 1 square foot of adequate middle school space. And to think that right now and then moving forward in a few years, we're going to have a brand new state-of-the-art middle school is a true success. And again, can't thank the council, the school committee, and all the elected leaders today and in the past that have helped us get to this point. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Treasurer. Aaron?
Yeah, so I'll just start with saying it's about time. As a citizen of Holyoke, I've watched Holyoke continuously put education last. Since the override in the 90s, when many other overrides passed, but money for education failed. from 5 years ago when we had the failed attempt for the two middle schools. I've been on the school committee now for 10 years, and as a realtor too, watching people move into this community but outsource their children. We've come a long way at Holyoke Public Schools. We have many wonderful programs, like Anthony Soto mentioned, our redistricting strategies. We're putting a new emphasis on ensuring that students in the middle school population have all the tools they need to be successful, not only for high school, but for career and college and beyond. So we just encourage families to take a new look at Holyoke Public Schools, come see what we're all about, and we look forward to the groundbreaking this fall. Thanks so much.
Ms. Linville, did we miss anything?
I can talk about what's next.
Yes. Yeah, that'd be
Okay.
great.
Hi, everyone. I want to express gratitude again to the City Council, the School Building Committee, the School Committee, and everyone who's been involved in this effort. And I'm excited to share about what's to come. The first immediate next step is to release an RFP for the demolition of the Peck Middle School building. That RFP will be out this summer, and we hope that demolition will start by late summer or early fall. We'll be working on construction documents over the fall, and then we'll release another RFP to hire the construction company, and we're hoping that construction starts by next spring, 2024, so that we'll be on track for an opening of the new school sometime between August and December 2025. The new middle school building will have everything that our students need. There will be a music room that will allow for choir and band. There's going to be a STEM lab, a beautiful art space, a beautiful gym, plenty of classroom space for students in the general education setting, including more students into the general education setting, and spaces for community members to come in and work, or community members to participate in the education and see what our students can do as well. So it'll be a welcoming space for the whole community, and I know I speak for all of us, we cannot wait for in a little bit more than 2 years when we'll be able to welcome our students, our staff, and the community into a new school at the Peck site building. Thank you so much.
Also, again, shout out to the MSBA. I went over personally to the meeting yesterday in Boston when they took their vote, and they've been incredibly patient with Holyoke for all these years, and I want to thank our state treasurer and every member on that committee that has never given up on Holyoke. And I think that in this process, very collaborative in spirit and collaborative, every member of this community, even in the campaigns, for folks who voted no and folks who voted yes, all work together to get to where we are. And this is a clear message to everybody in the region and all across the state that it's time. It's time for Holyoke. And so with that, we'll answer any questions.
Okay. Hi, I'm Natalia Munoz from Holyoke Media. This goes to the treasurer, please. You say that the state is going to pay about $45 million. Us, the state taxpayers, are going to pay $45 million. And that our property taxes will not go up as a result of this. And
Correct.
that is a tremendous achievement.
Yes.
How did you achieve it?
Well, so we've had tremendous new growth. There's been a lot of projects that have been in the pipeline for years that are finally coming to fruition. And under the leadership of Mayor Garcia, who's really taken a very strategic approach to financial management and understands the importance of it, we've been able to reduce certain other budgetary pressures, while at the same time using some of this one-time money, historic infusion of money from the federal government, whether it's ARPA or ESSER, which goes directly to the schools. And at the same time, the historic interest rates that we're seeing right now, at the same time we may be impacted by inflation, we want to be able to use some of that those new interest rates to our advantage. And we've made strategic investments and really reshaped the way the Treasury handles cash in order to afford this. So we've set money aside now that we're not going to touch for 3 years until those payments start becoming due. So, and as we see the debt for all the current projects falling off, understanding the other capital needs in the city, be it investing in buildings like the one we're in right now, new fleet of vehicles, using those monies so that we can do everything possible to build this school. And I can tell you right now, as long as this mayor's been here, and listen, there's got to be credit to mayors past as well, but I will say that with Mayor Garcia, it was very clear. Every time a new project came up, every time a department head came and needed something, would come to the treasurer and say, we need a bond for this, we need to do something. And I'd go talk to the mayor. He said, will it impact the school? That is the #1 priority. And that message was loud and clear, and all departments got on board with that. And that's how we've gotten to this point.
And the other thing too is, oh, sorry, Mr.
That's
Treasurer.
all right. Yeah.
You know, don't get it wrong. From now moving forward, it's going to take care. We're going to monitor this very carefully. It's going to take us to be very conservative in future needs in this city as we try to tackle new projects. And it's going to take financial forecasting to be sure that we're hitting our target objectives to take on the obligation of these annual payments to support this school. So there's a lot of work that we're still doing internally. It's just in a matter of making sure that we're, you know, strengthening internal controls and just doing basic management of our municipal resources to be able to be sure that we're keeping up with our top priorities here, which includes building this middle school. So you had a question over here?
Hi, good afternoon. So my question is for the superintendent. When we spoke to you in December about the rezoning, we said for the 23-24 school year, Metcalf, STEM, and Sullivan will be the schools with Metcalf and STEM students attending the new Peck school when renovations are complete. Is that still the plan? Will those schools close? And what will the staffing and the teacher situation look like?
Yeah, so throughout the rezoning process, we made a promise and a commitment to all of our staff that as long as you're in good standing with Holyoke Public Schools, you have a job here. So we had the benefit of getting an infusion of funding through ESSER and the state's monumental change in legislation with the Student Opportunity Act. More revenues coming to Holyoke. So with more revenue, we had plans on increasing staffing levels that would allow us to provide a really rich middle school experience for our students, you know, through additional electives and essential programs like music, art, dance, you know, world language, things like that. So we've made a significant investment in staffing. Yes, next year we'll have one big middle school, which is at Sullivan. There'll be over 500 students in that school. And then we'll have two smaller middle schools, one co-located in our Dean campus, STEM, and then one at the Metcalf site. Our plans in the future is when the school is move-in ready, that Metcalf and STEM students would move into the new building. And then we would, you know, that would allow us also to increase programming at Dean. Right now we have students that would love to attend Dean, and we don't have the space to accept more students because we have two schools there. And I know that's been something that the community has really been asking for, is to increase the programming that we're offering at Dean, or even increase the number of students that we have there. When we get this new building, we'll be able to design a plan that does just that. And then, you know, we'll be able to close Metcalf and work with city officials to see how that space is used. I could think of a few that the school could use, but, you know, we'll work with the mayor and elected officials to just do what's right for the city.
Thank you. And will the school name remain the same? And do you guys have any sort of blueprints or any photos you can share with us today of what the school could potentially look like?
We do have, you know, we do have pictures that, you know, they're available on our website, and we can certainly email those out on the design. In terms of a name change, we'll work with the school committee to decide what the name of the school is going to be.
Perfect, thank you. And another question I had for you guys is, when we first received this press release, the outside outside consulting firm mentioned, because the building's aging infrastructure, poor original design, does not meet the needs of today's students. How will this building meet the needs of today's Holyoke student? If you guys could elaborate a little bit more on that.
Yeah, it's gonna have appropriate spaces. Right now, we're making spaces to try to meet students' needs. There's safety issues in the design of Peck. It's, I'll never forget first day of school. I always go to a school on the first day of school, and I saw a student, Raul, getting off the bus this year, and he looked very down. And I said, Raul, it's the first day of school. Like, why aren't you excited? And he said, Anthony, this place is like a jail. And I was like, a jail? What do you mean? You leave at 2 o'clock, 2:30. People in jail don't get to leave. He's like, Anthony, it's shaped like an octagon, and some of the windows have bars on it. And it just made, it really took me back that a student who was in 7th grade is feeling that way about the building that he's in. And I can guarantee you that we're not going to design a space that's like that. Right now, Peck is designed in like pods. It's like an octagon. It has a lot of interior classrooms with no windows. We can't do any summer school programming there because it's just too hot. So this new building is going to have a lot more natural light, a lot more appropriate space. It's going to be well lit. It's going to be well ventilated. We'll be able to offer summer school programming for middle-aged students. And in the current space that we have, we're just not able to do that.
Thank you. And these
Hold on, let me just grab questions over here. But those are blueprints. Okay. Spread them out on the table. Feel free to take pictures and videos. I do want to give some other folks answer some questions too.
Yeah, hi. Just one quick question with regard to, so the students who are at the school are going to get, shifted out to these other schools. Can you go into a little more detail of, is there like a way to determine which students are going to which school or how they
There is. We went through a really engaging process over the last year. We, it was on the school committee agenda every single month. We met with the school committee and had a special retreat to make some important decisions. But as part of that process, we did have to redraw all of our boundaries. We worked with a consultant to help us do that. But we went out and sought feedback from our families, sought feedback from our staff, sought feedback from our community members to as we navigate this rezoning process, what are the important things that we need to consider? And that was a long process led by our chief of strategy and turnaround, Aaron Linville, and many of our school committee members. But that's what we did. We redrew boundaries. That meant that like a family that had been going to the same school for the last 3 years was now all of a sudden being moved because of where they live or because of the program itself. We did look at programs specifically, some of our special education programs. We looked at our dual language program, and we made some moves there based on the infrastructure that we have in Holyoke.
Good.
Just two quick questions. If construction is complete, I know it was mentioned it might be complete in August of 2025, maybe December. If it's complete in the middle of the year, middle of the school year, like December, would the transition happen in the middle of the school year, or would it wait until the next school year?
We'll work with the building committee on that, but I could envision like over a holiday break or a recess for students. I could envision making a move then. We wouldn't do it until we're ready, but like we have time now to work out all of those details and make sure that when it is move-in ready, that we're ready to do it as quickly as possible. As with everything we do, we try really hard to get feedback from our families and feedback from our staff, so that when the time comes, that's something that we are going to be seeking input from important stakeholders. Like, should we move mid-year? Should we wait till next year? And we take that feedback very seriously when we make decisions.
And then is there an exact amount of students that is expected?
It's being designed for 550 students, so give or take.
And we do have 2 middle schools, the new school, and then one of our K-8 schools, Sullivan School, is being converted into a middle school, and so half the student population is going to one, the other half is going to the other one. So, go ahead.
This is for school committee member Brunel. As a real estate person and a member of the school committee, how was your experience as a realtor? How does that influence why schools have to be so important for Holyoke?
Yeah, I mean, education really is the foundation of every community. Without quality schools, families aren't going to choose to live there. Without quality schools, you have increased crime rate. Without quality schools, you don't have the core of job candidates to work in the local community. So it's really the basis of everything. So, you know, I think it's been a hindrance to our home values here in Holyoke. Not only the home values, but the ability to increase our population. Holyoke was built to house over 60,000 people. We hover around 40. There's no reason why we can't continue to develop Holyoke without gentrifying the downtown and continue to expand it to be available to everybody. By improving our schools will help draw those people to want to live here. There's many families, unfortunately, that outsource their kids and choose to not attend Holyoke public schools. You know, receivership didn't help with that. As a school committee member, I can say there's been pros and cons to all of what Holyoke's been through, but we've made great strides, and this is just, in my opinion, one more step to prove to the state that not only are we ready as Holyoke Public Schools, but we're ready as a community. Unanimous support from the City Council does not happen often. So to show that not just the school committee, not just the school building committee, not just the mayor and the treasurer, but the entire city fought for this and came together to make a project that would benefit our kids proves to the state that we are now ready to take over local control and begin that process of handling our district on our own. And that will also help attract the parents back. But, you know, home values and just getting those parents to see, you know, that we are now ready, we're investing, we're committed, we're taking the strides, we're doing what's necessary. Too many times I've sat back and watched local communities build new schools by simply absorbing them into their budget. So even though we had to go for the override 5 years ago, just having to do that was disappointing. You know, I understand where the taxpayers are coming from. So it was a tough decision for folks to lose that battle then, but to finally be in the position where we as a community are putting education first, it's only going to mean leaps and bounds for the city as a whole.
Did you want to add another question?
Yeah, I just wanted to check, are these the proposed or the final plans?
Those are the final ones,
Okay.
right? Guys?
Yeah, I mean,
Aaron?
they're still going to be iterated on, but they're like the final plans as of right now, and then we'll move to more specific construction documents in the
Okay.
fall.
Perfect, thank you so much.
You got it.
Thank you. My final question for the school chief. How was it decided what the new school, middle school will have in terms of if the arts programs, just to make it, was there a survey? People say we want this?
There were 1,000 surveys. I think our families are surveyed out at this point. But yeah, a lot of input. We did have a middle school collaborative study team that worked with a consultant to study middle schools across the nation and come up with what would be best practice and what's, you know, state-of-the-art middle school education. And that study team, you know, pulled in teachers, it pulled in family members, it pulled in community members, and really looked at what do we envision for middle schoolers. Like by the time students graduate from the 8th grade, you know, what are the characteristics that and the experiences that we want them to have had in their time as a middle school student. And you know, that plan and that work, all of that heavy lifting that the collaborative study team did with input from the community helped really shape the design of this. We are going with a model school, which means that this school was actually built, I think it was built 4 times already in the state. But, you know, as part of the process, they had to look at our educational plan that was driven by the collaborative study team as well, or partnered with the collaborative study team work, and try to see if they can fit their model school with our educational plan, and they've been able to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Well, key headliner. It's time for Holyoke. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
If anyone needs high-quality rendering pictures, just give me your email address right now, and I'll send them to you this afternoon.